Now it's my honor to introduce our opening featured speaker, Dr. Colin Jackson, co-chair of the Afghanistan War Commission and chair of the Strategic and Operational Research Department at the Naval War College. Dr. Jackson served as a Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Central Asia from 2017 to 2019, overseeing strategy, security cooperation, budget oversight, and contingency planning. He was also the senior DoD representative to the U.S. Taliban peace talks negotiations. From 2006 to 2017, Dr. Jackson was a professor in the Naval War College's Strategy Department and later served as the director of the Advanced Strategic Program. He also taught strategy and counterinsurgency at MIT and at Columbia University. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, and I'd like to open with a series of thank yous to the organizers of this event. Clearly, we could not have pulled this off without Dr. Adib Farhadi's ceaseless work and the co-sponsorship of General McKenzie here in setting this up. President Ray Law of the University of South Florida also deserves our sort of kind regards for convening this important event. I don't want to leave out Dr. Jim Cardoza, who's sitting here somewhere. I'm losing him in the audience, and the Global National Security Initiative. This would not be possible without them. We're surrounded, as Dr. Farhadi had outlined, by distinguished guests, Dr. Zalmay Khalilzad, General McKenzie, Ambassador McKinley, among others, and then several of my commissioner colleagues on the Afghanistan War Commission, my co-chair, Shamila Chaudhry, Chris Molino, General Ashley, and Andrew Wilder. I would be leaving unsaid an important constituency in all of this, and one that motivates many of us on the Afghanistan War Commission if I left out that while they are not in the room, the 800,000 military veterans of the Afghanistan War are with us in spirit. Our project is in many ways animated by the sacrifices that so many of them gave in this conflict and continue to give back to this country. So again, thank you to all for laying this out and making this possible. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the Afghanistan War Commission, what we are, what we're up to, and why this is important and consonant with the effort here today. The mission we've been given is relatively straightforward but incredibly challenging. The Congress has asked us to look at U.S. government decision-making over the 20-year engagement along all lines of effort, military, diplomatic, intelligence, development, and to produce not only an authoritative account of the war in this sense, but a series of findings and actionable recommendations. This is, by any measure, a daunting challenge, but one which we embrace because of its intrinsic importance. The composition of our commission is 16 commissioners, 8 appointed by Republican legislators and 8 by Democratic legislators. We are bipartisan by appointment, but strictly nonpartisan in our approach. What we seek to do here is to produce an account that is objective, nonpartisan, rigorous, and unflinching. Our method in approaching a task this big, unpacking a 20-year war, immediately drives us to the central question: how do you narrow such a project? And the principal way we're doing it is to focus on key decisions. Here we're talking about primarily key U.S. government decisions. These decisions occurred at many levels over the course of the war. Some were made in Washington, some were made in Brussels, some in Kabul, and some in the field. The coherence or lack of coherence across those decisions, across those 20 years, and across those lines of effort will be much of what we seek to unpack in this process. When we say we're looking at key decisions, we're not talking simply about the choices that were made. We're looking to the left and to the right of decision. To the left of the decision were frequently active debates about a series of different options, and only one of those was chosen. We will obviously engage with the choice. Why did the U.S. government decide to do such and such and not the alternative options? And we will look to the right of decision at two main things. First, the question of implementation for any given decision. How was it implemented, and to what extent did the intent translate to the field? And second, the actions and reactions of other actors in the Afghan story. Here, we cannot fully understand the outcome of the Afghanistan engagement without thinking carefully about the way the Afghan government reacted to various U.S. government decisions, how our adversaries reacted to it, and how powerful regional actors took action in response to our decisions. Much of the interest, I think, in the key decisions of the Afghanistan war revolves around not simply the choices that were made, but the choices that were not made. We will, in any discussion, hear questions like, what if there were no surge in 2009? What if the surge had been extended in 2011? What if different strategies had been pursued, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? The point here is to say that a decision was important or key or critical is to imply that if the U.S. government had chosen differently in one of these dimensions, that events might have taken a materially different path. So we will be engaged not only with choices, but alternatives and paths not taken. While the key decisions are our primary unit of analysis, they are not the only one. Any close observer of the Afghan engagement knows that some aspects of the 20-year war do not fit cleanly into discrete decisions per se. There were programs, here I'm thinking about counter-narcotics and development, which do not cleanly fit into a given decision. Similarly, there were ongoing debates and arguments about the size and composition and training of the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces. These were not discrete decisions, these were ongoing arguments. The product of the Afghanistan War Commission will be a final report. Our rough model for the report is the 9/11 Commission report, a academic quality book that is rigorous and accessible to a general public. We hope to speak really to multiple audiences with this type of report. The first and foremost is the American public. The United States engaged for 20 years in Afghanistan, and the American public deserves a full and fair accounting of the nation's longest war. But there is also a second audience here that matters and who will take our work with great interest, and that is those who served in all aspects of U.S. government in this conflict over 20 years. Whether they are military service members, diplomats, development professionals, intelligence professionals, they will look back to our report to try to understand how their experience fit into a larger story of the war, and also to look for insights that can be derived by this experience or from this experience and this sacrifice. What have we learned in the course of the Afghan conflict? What can or should we apply in future U.S. government engagements, and what should we avoid? So again, for professionals, whatever their stripe, our report will have to address what went well and what went poorly. Finally, we'll culminate this report with a series of actionable recommendations. The Congress and the U.S. government deserve a set of insights of whatever scope which suggests changes that might improve either the structure, process, customs, or practices of the U.S. government. So again, in brief, the Afghanistan War Commission in its final report seeks to record an authoritative record of the key decisions made over the 20 years, to distill lessons learned, and to recommend changes. Dr. Farhadi has already outlined for you, I think, the three great panels you're going to hear today, which cover this breadth of the conduct and consequences of the war. I won't restate that, but I will end with a thought here, and this is not only in my role as a co-chair of the commission, but as an academic, a practitioner, and a veteran of the war. I think that the task of developing a comprehensive, authoritative, objective, and useful history of the war will require the active cooperation and collaboration of at least 3 groups represented here today in this room. The first is the Americans and their partners and allies who served in Afghanistan. Without access to their deep, tacit knowledge, we cannot fully understand the decisions that were made. And in many ways, the task not only of the Commission, but of many of the scholars and researchers here, is to translate and capture that deep, tacit knowledge and record it for posterity, for future practitioners, for future citizens. The second group are Afghans. While the Commission has been given a mission that focuses on U.S. government decision-making, we cannot fully understand the difference between U.S. plans and the outcome of those plans without addressing what Afghans decided in the course of the war. And here we are talking of Afghans of all stripes, the government, civil society, leaders, and our adversaries. So looking at not only Afghan perspectives, but Afghan actions is key to our understanding the course of the war. And the third community whose cooperation we desperately need in this joint project are the scholars and researchers assembled here today and in a larger community. These researchers in many ways have the analytic separation that participants in the war at times lack, and they have the time and the energy to build on the foundational work that we hope to achieve over the next 2 years with the Afghanistan War Commission. They will take the work of the Commission forward. They will do the hard work over many years of trying to come to a full understanding of the conflict. It is my sincere hope that those in attendance here and across a larger community of participants, scholars, researchers, veterans, will cooperate in this task that we face together. We must assemble a full, comprehensive, and objective history of the 20 years the United States spent in Afghanistan, and we must learn from this experience if we are to move forward with a complete understanding and to do better moving forward. Thank you.